Hello and welcome everyone to Redesign Your Life Today. I'm your host, Daniel Kobryner, mental fitness coach, international motivational speaker, and a passionate believer that transformation is always possible, no matter your age or your story. This podcast is for all of you, those of you, especially over 40, who feel stuck, off track, or disconnected from who you really are. If you've ever thought there has to be more to life than this, you are exactly in the right space. Because here we explore how to break through fear, procrastination, self-doubt, and reconnect with your purpose, your power, and your truth. You'll hear inspiring conversations with heart-centered guests who have experienced real transformation and who now live with intention, freedom, and alignment. Every episode is an invitation to show up more fully, think more expansively, and take bold, soul-aligned actions towards the life which is really waiting for you. So thank you everyone for being here. Let's take a deep breath, open our hearts and step forward. Because your life is not set in stone. You can redesign it and starting right now. And with this, I've got the immense privilege to have a very special guest today. It's Clarissa Burt. And just thank you, Clarissa, for being there and a few words of introductions. So, Clarissa Burt is an internationally acclaimed, award-winning media personality, a producer, a director, a writer, an author, a public speaker, and former supermodel and winner of the Celebrity Survivor show. With hundreds of television and film credits to her name, this who's who of international and American women brings over 35 years of entertainment industry experience in both international and American markets. Clarissa is the founder and CEO of In the Limelight Media, a multimedia platform consisting of video, a podcast, and a digital magazine. Her shows can be seen on YouTube, and her podcast is heard in 15 different distribution platforms. Published by New York City publisher Rowman and Littlefield, her internationally acclaimed, Publi award-winning, best-selling book entitled The Self-Esteem Regime has been on the shelves in Barnes & Noble stores nationally. Her book can be heard on Audible and found on Amazon and Kindle. She was the first American to present Russian TV at the Kremlin, has had 2 private audiences with Pope John Paul II, honoring social work. And the ambassador of the United States. As the ambassador of the United States, she actively helped African women win the Nobel Prize in 2011.
Yep.
So, well, so much, Clarissa.
Plays to me all the time. Clarissa, you've done so much. And I keep saying, well, you know what? I've been around a long time. It's just kind of normal, to do a lot of things at a certain age. And it was really great that you, Daniel, when you were talking about, being over 40 and, kind of saying to yourself, well, is this all there is? The really great part in all of that is, and you talked about redesign. In my book, I think the 4th chapter is reinvent. There's always time until you're called home, right? There's always time. You talked about in the limelight media. I didn't start in the limelight media until I was 60. Now I'm 66. My book didn't come out until I was 61, 2, something like that. So what the message is right there in the message itself. Don't give up. There's always something to do. There's something, you've always have a dream. And in Italian they say Un sogno nel cassetto. No, you always have a dream in the drawer. To open the drawer, pull out the next dream, and let's start living it. Let's get really excited and motivated about what is next and what is possible.
What a fantastic introduction. We really start full speed,
Yeah,
Clarissa.
I mean, golly, look, I mean, I think that one of the greatest things is after 40, after 50, after 60 even. I mean, you get to the point where the house is now empty, starting to empty nest, your children are leaving, you may be even, a lot of women I speak to are separated or divorced, and people go, well, who am I now? There's a complete identity crisis. Well, who do you want to be? Who would you like to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Let's start there. Then we'll talk about how we go about doing it. But let's at least have, the basic premise, which is the dream, the idea, the impetus for, great, I've lived the first part of my life. I brought up beautiful children. I've had lovely relationships, or I'm still in a fabulous relationship. What is next?
This is absolutely, and as you
Yeah.
know, we had the chance to have a chat together before that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
63, and again, I had a lot of changes in the last 2 years of my life, and I really so much, understand, and
Yeah.
we can redesign our life at any
Yeah.
stage in our lives, and for the auditors and the listeners, Clarissa, can you kind of run through a little, your life? You started as a
Yeah.
supermodel. I
Yeah, well, I
just,
mean, I started in a very, blue collar family, very simple background. But, I was a kid that was really, I think, very energetic and just really curious. So, of all the kids in the kindergarten, I was the one that was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. So, I'm sitting, behind Mrs. Bailey on the piano every, day, and I'm singing. I'm the first in the row, and I'm the loudest voice. So I got the part. And I realized already at 5 years old that when I sang Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, the whole thing, that, I got a standing ovation, and I went, you know what? I really like this. I love the idea of being on stage. I knew that I loved a microphone. I knew that I loved that connection. So I think that is the part of us, that inner child part of us, that what is it that you love? What is it that really floats your boat? What is it that moves the dial forward for you? And let's go back to some of those places and spaces that you didn't fulfill and you'd love to be able to do. Maybe it'll look a little different at this age, but it's still something that will give you great satisfaction, and that is really the most, when we think about how, I'm so old now and I have nothing to give, you have everything to give. You have years of intelligence, of integrity. You've got years of learning, you experience of, being the sage in the group brings a lot of impact and a lot of power. So don't ever, brush it off as, oh, I'm old. Old is not a bad thing. Look, all of us are not going to live forever. So as we move forward, mortality it's a reality, but it doesn't have to become the anchor or the chain around your ankles when you really are thinking about, well, I'm 66. I think I'm going to live at least another 30, 40 years. Let's get moving. We've got things to do.
Mhm. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. So,
It's the truth.
yeah, it's exactly. There's so much, and I said you had different lives. I mean, so you said like 5 years old, you were already singing. So, what
Yeah.
happened afterwards?
Well,
You
after
know,
5 years old, I finished out the schools, and then I was living in New Jersey. So I knew that I wanted to model. When I was a child, the only reason we had 3 television stations, that was our thing. We didn't have computers and internet, but we had something come to the front door 2 times a year. And it was the Sears catalog. Sears was a big,
oh yeah, yeah,
department store here in the United
yes.
States. And so that was my thing. I would go directly to the women's section, and I wanted to see the hairstyles and the makeup and how the women were posing and what they were wearing. That was my sort of foray into learning about the business of modeling. And fast forward until I was about 20, I think I started to go and took some pictures. They said, oh, you really should be a model. And I never thought I could. My self-esteem was so low. I never thought I could get there. I never thought I could. people kept egging me on and saying, but you can, you should try, you should try. I didn't know the first thing about trying, but I found out how. And then I got some pictures taken because the photographers in the day, they needed testing models and
Oh,
we
yeah.
needed testing pictures. So that's how that came about. And I took those pictures to the agencies in New York City. I was picked up by 2 agents. I chose one. And, within, I think in 1980, I was in Paris already for a year. And then I started to go to Milano, and I stayed in Italy for about 28, 29 years. So working and loving it, and, really having a fabulous modeling career. And so back to the self-esteem, if you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can't, you won't. You're right. It's never going to happen. So it was really, honestly, I must say, the people around me that gave me the courage, keyword courage, to be able to move forward and say, let me try it. And it went swimmingly well. Then I did some acting, had a fabulous time acting. Then I started to then I started to go into work on Italian television as on-camera talent. So obviously I was living in Italy. I learned the language. I had a great time there, doing those things. And then I said, well, what could I do after this? I'm getting, you always get to a point, I think, where you get a little itchy, a little antsy. You get, what's next? Because I'm kind of tired. I'm bored of this now. What's that? So then I said I wanted to be a producer. So I produced television, 3-hour live broadcasts in primetime Italian television. I had the Miss Universe pageant for 5 years. So just to give you an idea of, what is next? How are you going to get there? Please have the courage to find out and know that it's not over until it's really over.
This
So
is
that's kind of
amazing.
my story. After that, 20 years ago, I came back to the United States. I had done my time in Europe. I'm an Italian citizen. I go back to Italy frequently, and I love it. But I wanted to be back in my family. My sister was having her children. My grandmother was in her last years. I wanted to be home. So there you go. At a certain point, I just decided, you know what? Let me do that one thing I haven't done that I really want to do, which is a multimedia platform. And so that's where we started to work on the television aspect, which was digital, everything, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and the like, the 15 digital podcast platforms. And then I started to do a magazine, which every 3 months was 100 pages. So it got to be really busy very quickly. But boy, it was a really excellent choice to make.
Wow.
Then the book.
And then
So
the book.
they say, well, how did the book happen? Well, I was on stage having speaking, and somebody that is right here on the book who wrote the book with me, Gary Krebs, said, I really need to write, we need to write your book. And I said, let's do it. So we did it. We were picked up by a New York City publisher. And then the book dropped, and it's now also in the Italian language. It's been in Barnes and Noble for the last 5 years on the shelves in the stores, and I'm very proud of the work. I'm very proud of the work because I get the book is really it's a manual. You're not going to read about self-esteem. You're going to do it. There's a lot of really sinking your teeth in and taking a look at where you are today, what's not working, and how you want going to get to where you would like to be. So that's what the self-esteem regime is about.
Exactly. And, I had a chance to go through this for your book, and thank you for that. And obviously, I resonated very much with this. First thing which came to mind, when I looked at the various chapters, it all starts with RE,
Yeah. Yeah.
and obviously, with me, like redesign your life today, think, yes. So
Yeah.
what I'd like you to do, Clarissa, is run us through the various chapters of your book,
It's funny you should say, because the regime, as you well know, being French and living in coming from a European country, regime is a word that is really, it's not the greatest, because it's direct association to the Second World War, or to any regime really. But for us in Europe, it was the
Oh,
Second
yeah.
World War.
Mhm.
If you look up the definition of regime, it's an organized way of doing things. And so self-esteem and regime, this also being broken into 12 chapters that, you move forward when you're ready to the next chapter, Yeah.
Yes.
So it was very important for me. And I came up with the 12 rewords because I just felt that It was a little kitschy and a little catchy, and it kind of worked. So the first is really, let me see, it's release. And so what do you think is written in stone? What do you think is etched in marble? What were you taught by, the generational tribes that, came before you? What is it that, your culture, all the things that we are taught as youngsters that maybe doesn't necessarily work for us. And we need, when we start to, move out of our, the parental home, start finding the things that are actually working. Maybe, your family wanted you to take over the family business, for example. It's not necessarily what you want to do. So, you're going to hurt some feelings. Some people's noses are going to get out of joint, but you're going to move forward with what is really in your calling. Yeah. And so again, courage, big word. Remember that word always. The next one is rebuild. So now here's your blueprint. You put you create the blueprint, you build the house, you build the person you want to be. How does your life look? How are you going to get there? You start that real rebuilding process. And that's a really exciting place to be. And by the way, you may rebuild more than one time in your life. Remember, I said about the reinvent chapter that we're going to come up against here soon. But yeah, I mean, it's life is life. And so there may be more than one time that you will be reinventing yourself. So be mindful of that. Third is responsibility. Where are you taking responsibility? Where are you shirking responsibility? And make sure that you're not putting the responsibility, please stop putting the responsibility for your life on your parents. Please don't do that. Because when you start to do the personal development work, you understand that the toxic stops here. It stops right here. Yeah. You draw that line in the sand and you say, okay, new me. I'm reinventing my life the way I want it to be. And then we have replace, reaffirm, reinvent. Like I said, then you reinforce all of the things that you're building. You can go back and you reinforce them. Repeating is another really big thing. You may have to repeat, you will have to repeat. I'm going to say may have to repeat many different times, the same concepts that you may have forgotten. Go back and repeat them. Go back and repeat it until you get it right, because you may not always get it right the first time, and that's okay. The one thing you're going to learn when you start to do personal development and self-esteem and self-awareness, self-improvement, is that you learn how to give yourself grace and you learn how to give yourself permission. So if you're waiting around for somebody to give you permission to do something, I'm giving you permission, go do it. Go do it. You've got permission now, So don't be waiting around for others to be deciding for you. I think that's a really important part. Your husband, your spouse, your children, your parents, your boss, don't wait. Don't even ask for permission. Just go do it. Really important. There's a rebound also chapter in chapter 9, redirect. You may have to start, I start up one way. I might have to redirect that a little bit, because you'll learn as you're going. Some things that you thought were for your greatest good may not necessarily be 100%. Maybe it was only 85%. So you redirect a little bit, right? That's really important. You have to be malleable, right? In this process, it's really important to give yourself some forgiveness, for the things that may not go the way you exactly think they should. Then we have respect. Okay, we all know what that is. Respect yourself first and foremost, and respecting others is, paramount. And then reciprocal. That was my big one. Daniel, was reciprocal. It was one of the laws of the universe is reciprocity. That was really hard for me because I was so good at doing it all and getting it all done and making it all happen. And so I was in a board meeting one day with my people when I was, still back and doing Italian television. And I said something along the lines of, oh gosh, I just feel overwhelmed. It's like, I'm like doing everything, I was probably in a frustrated moment. And somebody said to me, Clarissa, it's really hard to do anything for you because you do it all. And I went, okay, learning moment, teaching moment, right? Okay. Thank you for that. Yes, I know I'm an Amazon woman. I'm a powerhouse, and I probably don't give you the space to be able to do so. So I learned how to, say, okay, you take care of that and then get back to me when it's done, instead of, like having to get it all done and being so frenetic and the like. So those are the chapters in the book. And as you go through them, you go through it at your own pace and you learn at your own pace. Some of these chapters aren't going to be the easiest to get through because we've got case studies, we've got the daily demons, the clarion call, Clarissa's corner, and then there's going to be some homework to do that will always be it'll be very telling and teaching. So there you go.
What a program there. I mean, there's so much, and obviously as you know, I'm a mental fitness coach.
Yeah.
And so I'm very familiar, with
Yeah.
these themes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see, let's go again. Let's with the start, and let's talk about the first 7 years of your life. All right.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Because I mean, obviously, you said we learn things, and we know that actually in these first 7 years, basically we operate in a theta
Yeah.
brainwave where everything is coming. It's nearly like a state of hypnosis where we we learn from seeing what our parents do, what friends, school, teachers,
Yeah.
and then we
Oh yeah.
take everything without filter. So it gets
Yeah.
like registered in our brain. And this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
really because when we come on to this planet, we are like blank sheets. I mean, and of course there are genes. This is a different thing, but still we learn everything. So, and you were mentioning at the beginning, obviously, first it starts with awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you
I
want to
think that,
let us through a little bit on this topic,
yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah, I will do that. And the first thing that I want to, touch upon, and we hear the word frequently, but really don't understand exactly what it means. And that is, when we go back and talk about our first 7 years, for example, when you talk about birthright,
Yeah.
hear the word birthright. What does it really mean? What is a birthright, right? So it's what is you deserve just by being born. And that is you deserve to live in a peaceful home, to live a peaceful existence. You deserve to be here because you're not here by accident. You deserve to be here, right? So I could expand upon all of these, but to make it short, you deserve to love and be loved. You deserve to love and be loved. I cannot tell you how many people, and I'm sure you too, in the work that you do will say, oh, I never really felt loved.
Absolutely.
I never
Yeah.
really felt love, so I don't know what love is. And so that's huge right there. So you do deserve love. And then, we'll talk about ways to find love that are safe. And, as we talk about support groups and the friends that you allow into your intimate sphere, right? That's on you. You can't help where you were born, but you can pick really good friends to travel with through life. You deserve to feel everything, the joy, the grief, the pain, all of that. There have been some times in my life where I was admonished because I'm very emotional. I'm an emotional kind of girl. I'm an animated, as you can see, I'm very animated in the way that I talk and that I speak. And so I've been admonished about that many different times. But you don't have to apologize for any of that. So feel everything and it's one of the most beautiful things about being a human being, are our emotions. You also have to speak your truth. Really important. Some people feel as though, when you're young, many of us were told children are to be seen and not heard. I was told be seen and don't be heard. Well,
Absolutely.
it's very funny that I found my truth on stage, on television, in the media, with a microphone, and I made sure that a lot of people heard, not because it was a mission, but because it was my passion. You deserve to speak your truth, and you deserve to evolve, right? So, if you want to grow, and you should grow, and here we are talking about personal development, empowerment, evolving, right? You deserve to evolve. So don't let anybody, stunt your growth. You deserve to be able to say yes. You deserve to be able to say no. These are your birthrights. The next one is to rest. When I was a child, we weren't allowed to sleep. We weren't allowed to rest. Saturday morning, 7 o'clock, you got up and all the chores in the house needed to be done. Inside, outside, upstairs, downstairs. It was that way. And I'm not saying, look, we all want to be telling our, teaching our children, good things and cleaning up and all those things are great. But it was really more of a regime in my house, than it was, it was really, look, my parents came from 12 years of Catholic nuns and priests. So there was a lot of the indoctrination from the severeness of the Catholic Church in the 1950s, 40s, and 50s. Anyway, I digress. And the last one is you do deserve to be seen, heard, and celebrated, right? You're not here to shrink. Your ideas, your voice, your body, your light, it all deserves to be seen and heard. So, boom, let's talk about that. Let's talk about my childhood now. This, I don't know what you do see. Let me see what you say. This is my mother. Let me see. Can you see?
Wow, beautiful,
Hold on.
beautiful photo. I mean, beautiful mother and
That's my mother
and
and
you, yeah.
me.
Wow.
So when I
Okay.
was a young girl, I heard my mother say all the time, "Oh, don't take my picture. I come out horrible in pictures." And she was always, and she's gorgeous.
Absolutely. I mean, she could be a model. I mean, when
Yeah,
you
yeah,
look at
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah. I
photo.
know. Thank you. Yeah, I know. My grandmother, beautiful woman. I have a picture of her. It's in the back. Beautiful woman. So my grandmother at 44, 45, I forget how old she was. She decided one day she needed to lose weight, and she didn't need to lose anything. She took 2 diet pills, swallowed them, choked on them. It perforated her esophagus, and she spent 6 weeks in the hospital. So
Wow.
now, as a young girl, I'm watching the 2 women that I absolutely adore continue to tell me that they're not enough, that they're not good enough, that there's something wrong with them. And so that is one of the main reasons that I wrote the book. Here's what I'll tell you about enough, because I looked up the definition of enough. The definition of enough is only as much as is required.
Mm-hmm.
Only as much as is required. So just by definition, the word enough isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of all of it, I am enough, we are enough, everybody is enough, the new mantra is now, I am so much more than enough.
Mm-hmm.
And this, when you continually repeat these things to yourself, and we do that through the work in the book, these are the real reinforcers of self-esteem that we work on. There's also the mirror therapy in the book, Daniel, and I learned first about the mirror therapy from Louise Hayes. Everybody
Yes,
knows about Hayes Publishing.
absolutely.
And then from Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, and a fabulous coach in his own right. And they use mirror therapy. And mirror therapy looks weird, feels weird, sounds weird. It's a very uncomfortable place to be when you go into the mirror and you spend time as your own cheerleader. Hi, Clarissa. How you doing today? You look really good. I really think you're looking pretty sharp today. Hey, listen, I wanted to say to you, great job with that podcast the other day with Daniel. I think you really left some good nuggets for people to hold on to. So good on you for that. And by the way, I completely forgive you for that time that you were in that relationship so long that hurt you so badly when you knew you should have gotten out beforehand. But I forgive you because I love you so much and I just think you're amazing. So continue on with your day. Continue on with the great work that you're doing. Be really, really proud of that and go out and help somebody today. Bye. If you do that every day for 21 days, and the exercise is in the book, then come back to me. I want people to write to me and say, Clarissa, that exercise changed my life.
And I have to say, I mean, it's wonderful and I resonate. I've done something very similar.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I started to make affirmations, in front of the mirror. It was like, did it feel weird? Yes, it did. But you know what? Afterwards,
Yeah.
less and less.
Very
And,
freeing.
the
Yeah.
tip I would add is really look at your eyes, actually. Look in the mirror in your eyes, because then when you've got this energy going back and
Yeah.
forth to you, this
Yeah.
is so powerful. So thank you very much for this great
Yeah.
tip.
The other thing about self-esteem that we talk about a lot, Daniel, is, comparing. We compare, especially with social media these days, right?
Yeah.
It's very easy to say, wow, look at Susie. She's doing really well. And, she's okay. So The comparing thing has got to go. We always are talking about, compare the grass is always greener on the other side. And so I ask, is the grass always greener on the other side, or is it astroturf? Is it fake grass? Is it plastic grass? Is it the grass that you find in the stadiums? Yeah. Is it real? Is it perception? So be really careful about all of that. First of all, if somebody's grass is greener, that's fabulous. We want to be really happy for them and their success. Great, good on you. Love your green grass. It's fabulous. But be careful, again, is it greener grass, or is it astroturf? And the second thing I say is the grass always greener? Is the grass always greener on the other side, or is it greener where you water it? So bring it back home, and worry about your personal development, your personal awareness, your self-confidence. And let me tell you about self-confidence a second. So as you know, in the base root, the root Latin languages, the root words, trust in Italian is, confidence is confidere. And
Yes.
fidere means trust. It's
Yes.
Latin, and it's also Italian. So when you talk about self-confidence, you're talking about trust in self, or trust with self, but trust in self. That's what self-confidence is. You get to the point when you do the work that you know that you walk into a room, you walk into a meeting, you walk into anywhere, you're taking that trust that you're making the right decisions, that you're saying the proper things. You've got a real awareness about yourself when you talk about living with self-confidence, right? Yeah.
Wow. I mean, again, there's so much. And just one thing which came to mind. I mean, we live now in supposedly the most connected society, very easy screen, social media. But at the same time, studies have shown that people have never felt as alone or as lonely
Yep. Yes.
as now, because, as you said, you can try to depict yourself. You talk about fake ones.
Yeah.
Sure, this is great, my holidays, my dinner, but is it the reality, or is it what you think others would like to see? Are
Yeah.
you judging yourself in the eyes of others, or is it your truth? And when you really go deep, you realize that people really, they don't even connect the way they used to, because before people met, they were talking, and now it's messages, phones. I mean, for children, it's difficult. I mean, now they're lost. I mean, the ideas of connection.
Yeah.
So, and what I noticed, I mean, as a coach as well, is that what most people are missing is
Yeah.
really the ability to being seen, to being heard, to being understood,
Yeah.
without any fear of judgment, of
Yes.
criticism,
No.
or of being given unsolicited advice. So I really believe that one of our strengths as coaches is
Yeah.
really to give a safe space, a sacred
Mhm.
space for people to express themselves.
Yeah. I think we have to come back a little bit more to being human beings. I think we have to come back more to human touch. I think we have to leave the devices in our rooms when we come to the dinner table. All of this there's not perchance that we have a very high suicide rate among our young children. So, there's not, that's not, to be overlooked. And the other thing about, internet, which is a lovely thing, is that it also afforded the possibility for children to be able to bully one another with more ease. And when I was a child, there was that kid on the playground, and he was a bully, and you never went near him, and it was fine. There were some mean girls, but you weren't a part of it, and it was fine. Now it's not like that. Now they target one person, and the whole class is targeting that person. I exaggerate, but I think you get the point. And so, that is another reason that, we have to be really, really careful with, the devices. We have to be, really mindful about listening to our kids and look, I'm not a parent, and I will tell you, I think it's probably in this day and age, one of the most difficult things you could possibly be is a parent to children right now, because, parents are, they also are stretched thin. They're trying to bring, they're bringing the money home. They're, running their children around to different activities and wanting to spend time with them as well. So I'm not here to teach or preach because I am not a parent, but I can only imagine how difficult it is and the worries that are out there. So there are safeguards for, these devices that you can, I don't know exactly how they all work, but I know there are safeguards. And so that's a really very interesting part. And the point, and the other thing that has come to light is that the first group now, as far as suicide is concerned, are men.
Mm-hmm.
Men. And this is really more of a statistic that happened post-COVID because so many people lost their jobs. And usually it's the man that is the provider in the family. Not always, we know not always, and there are certainly many women that win, but usually, generally, as tradition will have it, it's the male that feels as though he is, he should be the provider for his family. So just very difficult times, that we've been going through in these last years, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it is. Economically, socially, politically, all the things, spiritually, it's just a really difficult moment for a lot of people. And so this is why I continually say, do the work, buy the books. These are books that really are uplifting as well.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. And, again, something comes to mind with what you said earlier on, Clarissa. And I was thinking about men. It's about expressing emotions. You said that you, from a very young age, well, you express your emotions, whatever people said. And can you walk us through how important it is as well for men not to
Absolutely.
suppress or not to repress emotions?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I think I should point out is I'll show you my book again. There are 3 different colors of blue here. When I
Yes.
first got this book back from the publisher, these triangles were pink, yellow, and orange.
Okay.
So very feminine colors. It would really pop off of the shelves in the stores. And the only thing I asked the publisher was that they make it blue, because it would also potentially, invite a gentleman to pick it up. And whereas most of the stories in the book and the case studies are from women, it's because I didn't have any case studies for men. I didn't know any men that had gone and done the work. So, and when I go and promote the book, half of the room, Daniel, are men. It's the most amazing thing to see. So back to the point that men want to be seen, men need to be heard, men have a story, men have emotions, men must stop being overlooked. And that, for me, men went through a very interesting phase between a very traditional mother who taught them certain things, and then, the feminist movement came through and all of that, which was great. I'm not going to say it, as a woman, I think it was all lovely, but then guys kind of went, wait a minute, my mom told me that, and now you girls are telling me this, and I'm a little confused, so I don't know what to do. And there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in all of that. There's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of pressure put on men. The whole don't cry and, be a man. And well, what does that mean? Define be a man. And so you get to decide what being a man is when I remember when I talked about the second chapter, rebuild, be the man you want to be. Who do you want to be? And, I have one thing that I normally say to men, and that is be the man that you would want your daughter to marry. Be the man that you would want your daughter to marry.
Beautiful.
Usually I'm talking about that in the context of, domestic violence, but it's a phrase that works no matter where. Be the man that you would want your daughter to marry. Be the man that you would want your son to become. Do you know what I mean? So I think that those are 2 really great guidelines, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to suffer, that you can't cry, that you can't be held, that you can't ask for assistance, guidance. There are many men's group now that are cropping up that help guys get through these moments, because it's really kind of, I think that it's a different vibe when a man goes and is coached by a man
And
And right, and gets out of the female energy so that he can find his male being again, his male vibe.
absolutely. And I have to say, you see, I'm working with men as well.
Yeah,
And as you said, with education,
yeah,
most people are
yeah.
taught not to display emotions, to be tough.
Mhm.
But
That's the written in stone. Remember I said the written in stone?
it's yes, exactly. And we know that when we do that, when we try to
Yeah.
repress our emotions, they're stuck in our body. It can cause physical harm,
Yes,
mental
it
harm,
can. Yep.
psychological harm. So
Yes.
in a way, I mean, what I'm, helping people with is really become more vulnerable.
Yes.
Telling them it's okay. And actually, where do
There's no
most,
shame. No
where
shame.
there's no shame. And actually, you see, women intuitively are more emotional and it's easier. And again, it's between the relationship, mothers, daughters, and then sometimes with the children, there's this need there. But really, when relationship issues arise, it's mostly done to communication,
Yeah. Of
lack of
course.
communication or
Of course.
or not
Yeah.
correct or not enough. So, and obviously, it's so important for men to be able to express themselves and to say, because, women can't
Yeah.
guess. And the other way around, same thing. Sometimes women think, oh, men will understand. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
what I want. They
Yes.
don't say it. No, say it. Because if not, I mean, men are not mind readers. I mean,
Yeah. I think men need a lot, mostly men need a very communicative, usually, yeah, because we're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about men having difficulty coming to the table and saying, coming to the table, taking his wife's hand and saying, honey, will you come to me to the couch? Can you give me 5-10 minutes? I really need to talk about something. Guys don't do that. I can get on a plane from Phoenix to New York tomorrow, sit next to a woman and know her entire life story.
yeah.
I know everything. Vita morte miracoli, they say in Italian. Her life, all the people in her life, all the people that have died, and all the miracles that she's been through. I'll know it all. You know, men don't do that. So that's where, the invitation is to, guys, if you're waiting for permission, here it is. Here's your permission, guys. Give yourself permission to go and do that. Most women really do want to hear what's wrong. How many times does a woman say to you, "What's wrong? What's wrong? You all right? You okay? What's wrong?" And you'll go, "Yeah, yeah, I'm good. I'm fine, fine." That's an invitation. That's an invitation, right? For you to open up. So, open that door and step through. And I think you'll find some good advice, some good solace, some guidance, and some support.
Exactly. And you see, even when you said now, for instance, it's very interesting because imagine somebody says, what's wrong? The word is a negative word. So sometimes I would reformulate. It's,
Is
what's
everything okay?
what's on your mind? Are you okay? Is there anything
Yeah.
you would like to discuss? Because
Okay.
it's really it's about words matter. Words matter.
Sure.
We know
Absolutely.
that. I really love this expression, which is be impeccable with your words.
Your words.
Because
Yeah,
your words have
they
vibrations. I
do.
mean, and Jana, I'm now, and this comes from this book called, The Four Agreements. But I
Of
mean,
course.
it's universal. It's really only say what is, what you want to say, what is true. Don't lie. Don't gossip.
Yeah.
Don't say bad things about yourself, because when you
Yeah.
do that, I mean, basically everything is coming back to you. So
Well, the other thing I talk about is living in the high, taking the high road. And so high is honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And so when you're
absolutely.
talking about lying, there needs to be absolutely no time and no space, no place for lying, no place for cheating, no place for steal, like all of the lower vibrational things. Dr. Stephen Hawking's came out with the emotional vibrational chart. Do you know about that?
Not only do I know, but this is like in
Yeah.
nearly each of my calls
Yes.
to talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
me too.
Sure.
Yeah, me too. It's really important. So, on any given day, you can kind of say, how am I feeling today? All right. Am I feeling kind of up here where it's euphoric, or am I feeling kind of here where I'm content, or am I feeling down here where I'm in rage and I'm in anger and I'm in jealousy and envy? So this, this emotional vibrational chart, because, we're all vibrational beings, we're energy, right? So our thoughts are energy. We know that. And therefore, this is a really great chart to have. I print it out and I refer to it frequently. I kind of go like, where am I today? How can I get to where I need to be? Because I'm a human being as well. There are some days I wake up and I'm just not feeling it. So these are all the tools that we have at hand to be able to use so that we can live in healthy self-esteem. And it's just that important. We talk about value systems as well. If I say to you, give me what are four of the things in your value system? Most people don't have an answer. They don't know what really you're talking about. They kind of know, but they really don't know. Your value system is your blueprint on the way you will and will not live your life. It is who you are in any given moment. It's what you believe in, and it's that line that you draw in the sand. Boundaries are huge. People think that boundaries need to be created through anger and angst and argument. Not at all. Boundaries are nothing more than the way you will teach others how to treat you with ease, joy, and glory. Doesn't have to be anything about, and it can be something as simple as, hey, honey, hey, Susie Q, can I talk to you for a second? Yeah, sure. What's up? Just wanted to say that, and by the way, we're not all triggered about everything all the time, but there are things that really need to be cleared so that we are feeling better about the situation, right? Just wanted to kind of let you know that when you said that, it hurt, and let me explain why. You're not accusing, you're not pointing a finger, you kind of explain it a little bit. You don't have to go to too much detail. And here's where, if Susie then goes, oh gosh, Janie, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I'll never do that again. Thanks for letting me know. You're in a healthy relationship. But if Janie, if Susie comes back and says, oh, come on, get over yourself. Like, what's the big deal? I was just a joke, for God's sake. That's probably a little bit of a toxic relationship you want to be careful about. And so, people want to, you when you're asking for a boundary, and that means you're asking for respect. And those that love you and care about you will be happy to do that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for bringing this point out. And you see, the several things comes to mind, but if anything comes up, first, one thing we need to have the courage to show up and to really express it, because what
Yeah.
happens is, if people repeat a behavior and we get annoyed more and more, but if we've not told them that we
Yeah.
are annoyed, it's not
It
their
becomes resentment.
responsibility, it's ours.
Yeah, it becomes
So,
resentment.
because there are things which are within our control and some which are not. So, exactly, it's about something is not right for us. Let us express it, as you said, Clarissa, in a certain way, in a respectful way. It's never about pointing the finger. It's never about who is right. It's about what is right and how can we
Yeah.
change things.
Yeah.
And you see, something else which I always encourage people to do, and obviously I've done it in my life, it's providing feedback. Feedback
Yeah.
is so important. I mean, feedback can be really positive feedback. If somebody does something great, there's are two words which are underused, which is thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Just thank people and not
Yeah.
thinking, oh, if we do it, they are going to expect something. No.
Yeah.
If something we genuinely think,
Yeah.
we thank people.
I love
Oh,
that.
of
Here's the
course,
other one that I will offer up that is just as important, if possibly not even more. And there's no shame in this either. And that is, I'm sorry.
absolutely. Exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry goes so far to healing. It is so impactful. And again, no shame, no blame, no guilt, none of that. Just ask, for forgiveness, because it's a really, it just goes to show the emotional intelligence that, that you possess because you're doing the work. You understand what emotional intelligence is. It's another really huge part of all of this, right? Is just being emotionally an adult about things. We all have an inner child, and on any given day, my inner child may be speaking to your inner child, right? So we have to really make sure that we are nurturing that inner child, that we've given it everything that it needs, but at the same time, growing up, becoming big boys and girls, and becoming emotionally involved in every decision that we make in an intelligent way.
Absolutely. And when you said I'm sorry, something came to mind again. It's something I learned a few years ago, but which really resonated with me. This is called the Oponopono. And I
Yes.
might,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this, just to explain to the auditors, I think it comes from the Pacific Islands. And, when there were conflicts,
yeah,
in tribes and in the elders, brought people together and says, okay, now you had this argument. Okay, let's quiet down and please repeat these sentences. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Please forgive me.
Forgive me.
Thank you.
Okay.
I love you. And actually, when you say that, you say, I've got goosebumps,
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
You say them a few times and it has such a
Healing
healing
effect.
effects, because you
Yeah,
see, I said thank you before, you said I'm sorry, but please forgive me. I
yeah.
love you. It's all these emotions, and
Powerful.
really, the more you
Really
do that,
powerful.
and I remember I even did it with my daughter once because there was an issue, and I said, with her mom, and I said, please say this, and repeat that, and
Yeah.
this worked.
Yeah.
So
You know who talks about that a lot is Joe Vitale. You know Dr. Joe Vitale?
yes, I know him. Yes,
He's been on the cover of my magazine, and I've interviewed him as well.
it's
And he is a big, big, big proponent of Ho'oponopono.
you see, and sometimes it's yeah, and when we you see, another thing which is very important is that, and you talk about emotional intelligence as well, but what does it mean? But first, it means having the ability, or creating the ability to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. It
Yes,
means that when somebody says something, of course, intuitively we might disagree, but before starting saying anything, it's about pausing, it's about putting
yeah,
our thoughts completely on the side,
yeah,
being fully with the other person,
yeah,
with the real willingness to understand.
yeah,
Again, what do you mean by that? Why do you say that?
yeah.
And when we take this step, which is a positive step, and we have the courage to really put ourselves on the side, miracles happen, because when
Absolutely.
we think, oh, wow, now I understand why you
Yeah,
said
yeah, yeah.
that.
Yeah.
See?
It's a fabulous thing, when we grow up and we say, okay, it's nobody else's fault, take responsibility for my, look, the steps are very simple. Go back to the word courage. Go back to the word, fear. Go back to the word, but what if I fail? Failure is my first attempt in learning, right? First attempt in learning. And so we all know that, we're not always going to get it right the first time. I mean, nobody gets it right the first time all the time. So, just knowing that, it's, again, go back and, forgive yourself and give yourself grace and be kind to yourself in this process. And some of the most amazing things are going to appear. It's exciting. It's very exciting.
It's very exciting. And actually, do you know what? It's be kind with ourselves and be kind with others. You see, before you were saying something, Clarissa, about what our values, what's really
Yeah.
what.
I
And
used to,
this is an exercise I'm doing with my coaches. I've got a whole list of and then they've got to narrow down to 5, and it's sometimes very difficult. But you
oh,
see, kindness is one of mine. For
yes,
me, it's like it's within me. Again, I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying, of course, integrity, honesty,
honesty, integrity, and yes, and kindness.
courage,
Courage.
respect, and so these are like my, I've got, but it's and fairness as well. It's
Absolutely.
so when I think, and this is really the try, and I'm really want to live my life according to that. Do I sleep sometimes? Of course I do.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's always coming back to this. It's, am I congruent with these, with these aspects?
Yeah.
And it's like muscles, the more you train them, like being impeccable with your word.
Yeah. Yes.
It took some time, but now, Imagine before I could have said, people say, oh, can you do this? Yes, I can. And you think, oh, I don't know. But now, no, I would only say it if I know I will do it. If not, like you said before, sometimes it's having the courage to say, I'm sorry, no, I can't do this because of this. I might
Yeah.
be able to do it later. It's really being, you know, setting these boundaries for ourselves. And when we do that, this is when you talk about self-esteem.
Yeah.
This is when we are getting back the self-esteem because the most important person to be fully honest with is ourselves.
Yes.
Ourselves. I mean, it's really, if not, if we start with these white lies and this, but given
Yeah.
time, we think, well, I can't even trust myself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's so it's really not that hard, and it's that sense of really feeling whole when you come to the table and say, I'm not afraid of saying what I want, because what I want to say is the truth. It's my truth. I don't want to hurt anybody, but if somebody says to me, do these jeans make my butt look fat? I may not say yes, but I may say, well, what if you tried a darker color? Do you know what I mean? So I've said
Abs-
what I want to say. I said it
Absolutely.
in a kinder way.
Exactly. And actually, there's another word which I forgot, of course, but which I'm going to mention now. But and this is really very important what you talked about, the scale of Hawkins, of emotions
Yes.
and I encourage everybody to have a look at that. As you
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
at the
it's really
bottom,
great.
you've got, the fear,
Yeah.
you've got guilt, shame, jealousy. And when you go to that, encourage then goes up. And afterwards, it's about peace, it's about love,
Yeah.
it's about joy. But the highest one, it's very interesting because the highest one is called like self-realization or,
Yeah, it's illumination. Yeah.
but, some people said actually, but what does it mean? And and I heard this thing which really resonated with me. Actually, to be very concrete, it's about being authentic. It's
Yeah.
about authenticity.
Yeah.
And this is really one of my top words, So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
again, it's like, we are who we are. We are not
Mhm.
perfect, and it's absolutely fine.
For sure.
But at least, we speak our truth. And, again, it's not about others if they are going to like it or not, right? Provided it's ours. If people resonate, it's great. If they don't, it's great as well.
Yeah.
Again, and obviously, the way you tell the story, Clarissa, is I can see it's on the top, when you were 5 years old and already
Yeah.
your authentic self. And okay, no,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
more we are like that, the more life becomes easy because you know what? We are who we are, and the energy we might have, and
Yeah.
it comes from that because we are not afraid to say something which is really within ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So great. It's also great. And this is why, I've been, even as a young girl, when we had the bookstores and no internet, I would go to the self-help section. That was where I went. I wanted to learn about these things. I wanted to know how I could be better. I wanted to break out of the generational traumas, if you will. I wanted the toxic to stop. I really wanted these things, right? And so again, I am an imperfect, am I? But I do think that, if we can live by the credo that I want to be a better person tomorrow than I am today, and that gives us something to really work on and to look forward to. And it could be a very little thing, right? And,
It,
as I say, I'm a work in progress. I was born imperfect, but we need to start thinking about what we're thinking about. Like,
it,
what are we thinking about? And keep
it's
that really mindful, right?
exactly that. And as you said, we can make a mistake,
Yeah.
right? And we
Yeah.
don't have to beat ourselves up, and thinking, no, okay, I made a mistake, fine.
Yeah.
What can I learn from them? How can I
Yeah.
ensure I don't do it next time? And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see, the more we do this, it's as you said, yeah, I really love the expression. We are like work in progress. I mean,
Sure.
we
Yes.
learn to do things,
Yeah.
and it's you see, I've got the program I'm running now. It's quite powerful. It's around positive intelligence. It's about people uncovering their saboteurs, which they judge. Everybody judges themselves, judges others, judges circumstances, but as well, we all have different ones. I mean, because what are these saboteurs? These are really strengths we had, but which are used,
Yeah.
abused, and overused.
Yep.
Some people are more controllers and, they want to do everything themselves, or some people, but what made me think about this is, a victim. And victim is so important. It's very often, as you said, by default, why is my life bad? Oh, because of my partner who left me, because of my parents, because of my job, my boss. No, you see, when we do that, we leave our power away to somebody else, to
You become
circumstances.
you can be a victim or a victor, or you can
It,
conform or you can transform,
it's it's
and
it's
so
it,
it's up to you. I mean, your life is up to you. I think that's
it,
the greatest message here. It's like you can
it,
do anything you want, just stop bitching, moaning, and complaining and go do it.
It's exactly. So, I really love the expression, take your power back. It means don't leave it to somebody else. Have the courage. If you're not happy, change has to come from within. It doesn't come from the outside. And, there was, Gandhi said, if you want to have change around yourself, become the change yourself.
I
So,
think we're probably getting close to the end of our discussion, but I wanted to add a couple of more things that I think are really important, just as generalizations. Your present situation is not your final destination.
no, absolutely.
Change is the only constant. So remember what ebb and flow, and life will
Yes,
trigger
yes,
you, and
yes.
be ready for those things. Loyalty is when I have your back behind your back.
Hmm. Yeah, wow. Okay.
And there are four things that you can't get back in life. And that is the word after it's said, an opportunity after it's missed,
Hmm.
time after it's gone, and trust after it's lost.
Wow.
So this is where I want to be, right? This is what I said. I want people to be able to trust me, and I want my time spent with people to really mean something, right? Every opportunity that comes my way, I want to take a really, really good look at, and I really want to weigh, the pros and cons. I don't just blow it off and as it never existed. And as you have said a couple of times, the word after it is said, be really mindful with the words that you're using.
Well, Clarissa, thank you so much. I mean, we could be speaking hours because I said it's so powerful. So, Clarissa, when our listeners want to be in contact with you, what's the best way?
Well, the best way, the book obviously is on
The book?
Amazon, Self-Esteem
Yeah, if you
Regime.
want to show it again, because really everybody should read it. I mean, this is the
Thank you.
self-esteem regime.
Self-Esteem Regime. It's also in Audible and Kindle all over the world on Amazon. In the United States, it's in the Barnes and Noble stores. And you can find me on social, Clarissa Burt, pretty much anywhere. It's pretty simple.
Well, really, thank you from the bottom of my heart
You,
because
Daniel.
you see your passion, your energy, your drive. This is an inspiration for everyone,
Thank you.
and just say everything's possible. You see, I so much relate to it because this is it, life, and
Thank you.
even what you said at the end as well. Life, remember something, everybody. The past doesn't define your future.
Yeah, exactly.
Today, what you do today in this moment, the small steps you take, this is going to take you where you want to go. So if you have any dreams, if you have any desires, go for them.
Yeah.
Start, go, surround yourself by coaches, by people who are going to support you, and you will see your life changing.
Yeah. Daniel, you can give up, you can give in, or you can give it all you got.
Absolutely. And you see, my motto I always use, and I play tennis as well, never
Okay.
give up, never give up. I will go to the last ball.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Clarissa, thank you so much for your time. It was such a delight to have you with us today.
Thank you very
And
much.
perhaps we have another opportunity to
Oh,
continue this discussion. This would be
yeah.
absolutely
Okay.
fantastic.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for our listeners to being with us. And I hope that you find a lot of nuggets here. And see you next time. Bye bye.